Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. Well, today we're going to be multitasking as we're moving into another project. We've got so many, I've got so many things that I'm juggling trying to get ready for this fall and Halloween season. And I wanted to bring you guys along for the ride so you don't miss out on another vignette. So this time, we're going to be looking at the latest series release from Department 56, and that's Fright Ave. And we're going to move into Neibolt House, the set of two, and create a small vignette that we can display in our home for the Halloween season. I'm pretty excited about it. These are much smaller buildings, as you guys have seen with the reviews. They're more of a facade type building, which gives us a lot more opportunity to create a different type or different style of vignette. And so I'm looking forward to seeing what we can do here. And I wanted to bring you along for this and at least show you in part one the planning process and what we're planning on doing with this particular build. So with that, let's jump into it and see where we're at today. Okay, so you can see I've started the initial planning process for the Neibolt House set of two vignette, and pretty pleased so far. It's in its rudimentary stages and setting, but wanted to show you where we're at and kind of talk about some of the dimensions. I've heard a lot of people ask, hey, what do these houses, how do they compare to some of like the trick-or-treat lane houses? And so what I wanted to do real quick is just kind of show you, if I can, being very careful. This is one of my favorites that I've got out as we're finishing Manor Row. And that is actually in the tool shed right now outside drying in our desert heat with all the glue water mixture on the grass that was put down yesterday. So it is moving along. But that is Mordecai Mansion, and that is a normal-sized, Snow Village-sized, older porcelain Department 56 piece, one of the best they've made, in my opinion, for Halloween Village. And this is the brand new 2025 Neibolt House from Fright Ave from Department 56. So you see they're a lot smaller. But if you look at them side by side, I mean, obviously this is a porcelain house and I love some of the details on it. I love the paint job on it, especially. However, if we move over here, you know, for a resin house, there is a lot of detail on this house. I mean, you can kind of compare them side by side. Certainly size-wise, it's a little bit smaller, quite a bit smaller actually. But the detail, in many cases, is more plentiful on the resin piece as far as just the aesthetic look, at least for me. And again, this is my favorite, one of my favorite, if not my all-time favorite piece for Halloween Village. So there's a size comparison, and we'll show some size comparisons as we move on in some of the other ones as well. But that's not what today's video is about. Today's video is about, let me put this out of the way. You can see I've got so much stuff out in the crafting room. I was just able to pick up that piece. It just came in. I still have to do a review on the Trick-or-Treat Lane house. I've got all of the new stuff from many creation studios from Perry that we need to review. And I feel like I'm behind. However, I wanted to make sure that you were along for this ride. So how have we started this so far? You can see some marks that I've initially laid out for where the pieces are going to go. And so let's talk about this. So from a size perspective, I've kind of got this laid out on a mat. And you can see it starts on the side here with a 0 and runs all the way over to, and I don't know if you can see that, it's just over 18, just shy of 18 and a half inches long. I really didn't measure it other than just by looks. I took one of my small protractors over here and just drew a line and cut it down to the size that I thought it needed to be. And so it turns out it's about 18 and just shy of 18 and a half inches in width. And then in depth, you know, from front to back, we're looking at 12 inches. I basically cut a 24 by 24 inch, 1-inch piece of XPS foam in half, thinking that that would be a pretty good size for some of these smaller vignettes. And I think that's going to work out fairly good. So let's talk initial design. So you guys have seen, and if you haven't seen, I encourage you to go back and look at the finished video or go back and watch the complete series on how I built the Neibolt house out of foam core and popsicle sticks, soda straws, and a whole bunch of other stuff a few years back, in hopes that someday Department 56 would build one of these houses so we wouldn't have to do that again. And here we are, you know, 3.5 or so years later, and we have one. So go back and watch that video, because I'm really going to try to replicate that piece for the most part, with a little bit of differences. The differences being the figure that comes with Pennywise, or with the house here, is the crazy, scary Pennywise with the crab or the spider, or whatever you want to call that contraption that he's become. And I think he's going to fit real nice right there in that yard. And I've got a little black dot in front of him. You see that? I think there's going to be obviously some landscaping there with an LED, probably a green LED light that will illuminate him in the dark. The house already illuminates. We've seen that. You saw it lit up. So that's going to be lit up fairly nice. And then as we come on this side, in the movie and in my other creation for the Neibolt house, there is the iconic dead tree out in the yard. Now, I've looked for the other one. I can't find it. It's probably buried in the closet with a bunch of other Halloween stuff. But I'm going to try to replicate that on a smaller scale, obviously, out of this wire. So we're going to take this wire, and this is just, I don't even know where I got it. I think I got it at one of the hardware stores or a craft store. It's a 22 gauge wire. Probably got it at Hobby Lobby or something like that many years ago. And I'm going to cut a whole bunch of individual wires off of that, probably about, I would guess, I don't know, maybe 8 or 10 inches long. And then I'm going to twist them all together and form them into the shape of a tree, the scary tree that you see on the movie or in pictures of the house on Neibolt Street. Then I'm going to cover that with some air dry clay and use some clay tools to mark it up and make it look like bark and everything there, and then allow that to dry and then paint it to where it resembles the tree in the yard. And that is going to sit somewhere over here in this area. Also going to build a fence out of probably the solder that I used. It may be a little big. I may go look for something a little bit smaller, but if we go much smaller, it's going to be also very flimsy. So I may experiment with that. But I will use the tool material to use on that fence, and we'll, super glue that down and fix it that way, and then paint it to where it's very rusty. And then the fence, I imagine, will run from this end over to the sidewalk, and then from this area here all the way over to the end of the vignette. And then we've got our street here, we've got our sidewalk, and we've got our curb, all cut down a little bit smaller. I usually do a 2-inch sidewalk at a 1/4 inch high. This is slightly smaller than that in both width and length, or width and height. And so a little bit smaller. And what I did here, and let me kind of zoom in. All right, so I haven't reviewed this stuff yet, but I got to give credit to Perry from Mini Creation Studios. He sent me a whole bunch of stuff to review on the channel, which is coming. I've just got to get around to doing that. And one of the items that he is developing, I don't know that they're on his Etsy page yet, but they may, very well may be very soon. But these are these grates and sewer covers and things like that. So I basically picked one out and said, hey, this is going to be about the perfect size. He's already painted it, so it comes just like that. So what I did is really on this sidewalk, I took a black marker and traced out an area that looked like it would be sort of the shape of a sewer drain. And then used an X-Acto knife, this one actually right there, to go through and cut this to size. And cut it just very small. You can see it's very fragile on top. As a matter of fact, when I was using the foil ball, it started to almost crack there. So you got to be very, very, very careful with it. But I think once it's painted, and I may put some Mod Podge in that area there to strengthen it up, certainly underneath before I paint it. But that's just going to be painted black with a can of spray paint, water-based, obviously. And then that will be left black when I paint the sidewalk, the multicolor of grays. And then, so how did I get this into the ground? Well, just trial and error. Essentially, I put it on the pad just like this. I traced around it. And then I used that same X-Acto knife and made a small cut around where it would be. And then I used a very small flat blade screwdriver after I cut multiple lines with the X-Acto, both sideways, diagonal, front to back, back to front. And then took a little screwdriver and just kind of picked that foam out to a depth that would be conducive to that. And then just really kind of pressed it down in there. So if it'll focus on that, which is having a little bit of difficulty, you can kind of see the grates as I've pushed it down in there to make it stay. Probably easier to do after I had the road material on it, but I was experimenting. I wanted to try it. And so what will happen now is I will put the road material on after the curb is glued on and painted. I'll put the road material, and that's just going to be the non-skid tape. I'll put that on and cut it down to size. I want it to go under the sidewalk a little bit, so the sidewalk will not go on. And then once, at least at that step, and then once that's on, and I will line the sidewalk up and then place this in the center again, then I'm going to have to recut out that tape. So that should be interesting. Again, not the ideal way to do it, but the way that I chose to do it this time. However, when that's out and everything is painted black, it should just look like a black indentation there. I'll put some matte tacky glue or some Mod Podge in there, and then I'll simply just sit this piece. Let me readjust here. I'll just set that piece down, press it down, let it sit in there flat, and then I'll glue the sidewalk in place. And that's sort of the look there that we'll get when it's done. And I think a sewer grate and just a little sewer area out in front of the Pennywise house is almost a must do. I mean, you have to do that, I think, if you're going to build a vignette like this. And then for the walkway, these are just small cut pieces of foam and all textured with the foil ball, which you see laying right there. And then this will then be glued down and painted black, and then painted the gray colors to match that. So that's where we're at. And I cut all the sidewalk and the little walkway there and the curb using my trusty Proxxon. You can see it sitting right there. I'd be lost without it. And so that's being used heavily during projects like this. And so that's where we're at. So the yard is going to be a combination of several things. I'm going to try some new techniques. You guys have been asking me for a long time, why don't you use static grass to do some of your stuff? Well, because typically my platforms are so big and so large that it may be cost prohibitive to do that. It may not be. I've never done it. So I figure, why not start with something like this, something small? And so that's what I'm going to do. I ordered a static grass applicator with a whole bunch of different types of static grass. And so what I plan on doing is simply this. I'm going to take some sand, I believe. I'm going to put down a bunch of glue, and I'm going to put some sand on most of this yard. That's why I traced around Pennywise here, and I traced around the house back there. You can see that. So I'm going to put glue in the areas minus the house and Pennywise, and then I'm going to start putting the sand down on there. And then once that dries, I will likely glue water it down where it stays. It won't flake off. And then I'm going to use the coconut fibers. If you remember, or go watch the original Penny house that I made, Pennywise house, Neibolt Street house that I made, you'll see that I used a lot of coconut fibers wound up, super glued together, and then poked down into that sand to create all of the weeds in the yard. I've ordered some O-scale sunflowers off of Amazon. I think you get 16 of them in a kit for like $8 or $10 with tax and everything. You're looking at $12 or $14 for the sunflowers to come in to go in the yard. And then I think at that point, before I do that, I'll probably put some of the brown, dead-looking static grass in this yard and see what that looks like. So you'll have some sand as a base, you'll have some static dead grass, and then you'll have the bigger weeds and the sunflowers all sticking up in this yard. And I think that will give it the right look. As far as trees, other than the one that I'm making out of the armature there with the wire and clay, I think I'm going to use some bare branch or something similar, scary dead trees behind Pennywise, and on the left side of the house, if you're looking at it from this direction, in the background, potentially with some red balloons hanging in them to give it a little more ambiance. And then I've had this Neibolt Street sign for a very long time, and I don't really know what to do with it. So I pulled it out just for this build. I may try to incorporate that as a background of some sort. I may not. I don't know exactly what I'm going to do with that. I'm just spitballing and planning right now. But I mean, this is the Neibolt house. There is a Neibolt Street sign. It would be great to use it somewhere. If you have ideas on where I could use this sign or what you think would look cool, let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear from you. I've done things like that before, and you guys have come through big time, and I've actually changed entire villages and vignettes based on your input. So if you have an idea of what I can do with the Neibolt sign, let me know, and I'll certainly consider that as I'm continuing to design this. But that's where we're at. I just wanted to give you a closer look and let you know what's going on. But pretty excited about this one. This is a very small vignette. This could be set on a coffee table or an end table or what have you. It's going to have a couple of plugs, one for some LED lighting and one for the power adapter for the Neibolt house. And that's it. So pretty cool, pretty small and easy to store. So there is hopefully a better look at least the design phase of the Fright Avenue or Fright Ave Neibolt house. Okay, well, hopefully that gives you a better look and a better idea of how I'm going about at least the design phase on the Neibolt house. I've been excited for this since last year when they announced that this would be coming out. I'm so grateful, quite honestly, to Department 56 for sending me these to review on the channel and to build something and put that and showcase that on my channel. Hopefully you guys are excited. This is the first of 3 that we're going to do. I'm going to get this one knocked out, hopefully fairly quickly. I'm multitasking a lot, and I feel like I'm a little behind, and I certainly don't do this full time. So it has been a challenge to kind of get it all squared up. But I'm pretty excited about this build. Hopefully you guys can tell that as we have gone through this video. We will continue to do this for the Exorcist house and the Coraline house, one hopefully right after the other, if I can get to them before the season starts. That is the plan. But hey, if you've liked this video, make sure that you click the like button. And if you haven't subscribed for the channel, please consider doing so. It helps me out personally. It helps the channel to grow. And if you have folks that know that this is a cool hobby yet have no idea how to get started, share the video with them. Let them see and partake in this creativity that you and I share together, and perhaps they will become addicted just like we are. So with that, we're going to close this one out. Part 2 will be coming here within this week, I have to assume. So until that, take care of yourselves. God bless each and every one of you, and we'll talk to you again real soon.